Hello and welcome to the programme which looks at the Holy Land. I am Paul Calvert. John chapter 9 verse 7 from the New King James Bible says this, "And he said to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam," which is translated sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. I'm with Annaelle Choukroun from the city of David, and today we're talking about the newly opened Pilgrim Road. Now, Annaelle, what is the Pilgrim Road?
The Pilgrimage Road is basically the biggest, largest avenue, so to speak, of Jerusalem during the time of the Second Temple, meaning during Jesus' time. It was built during Roman times by King Herod around the year minus 20 approximately, and that was the road that led the Jews from the Siloam pool at the very bottom, meaning the biggest ritual bath at the time, to the temple. So people would cleanse at the Siloam pool and then walk up this huge road and pilgrim through it all the way to the temple.
So they're at the pool of Siloam. So are they getting themselves ready, cleaning themselves, ritually purifying themselves so that they could be very respectful and reserved at the temple?
So that's a good question. Archaeologists still don't know the answer to that question. We believe, and again, we use ancient resources to kind of understand. It could have been either for cleansing and actually purifying, or it could have been for cleaning up, because people would come from small villages up north, down south. You would, be a bit sweaty by the time you arrived to Jerusalem. So it could have been either for cleaning and before you actually cleanse in a ritual bath, or it could have been the ritual bath. I personally call it the ritual bath just because that's also what Josephus Flavius calls it, like the mikveh, the ritual bath, where the Jews would cleanse before walking up to the temple.
So in Jesus' day, would this be out there in the open air? And what's it like today?
Yes, it's out. It would have been out there in the open air today. If you arrive to the city of David and you go to the Siloam pool, you'll see steps, you'll see a corner, and then a long line of stairs. I would say about 12 steps steps that bring you to the excavations, because we are excavating the pool. So if I were to give an analogy for those who are listening at home, pretend you've got an Olympic pool, but I want you now to pretend that you can only see one side of the Olympic pool. So you can see one corner and then the corner that's in front of it. But that's it, meaning the rest of the Olympic pool, let's say it was all covered with dirt, now you need to excavate it. So you can only see one side of the Olympic pool, but now we're excavating the rest of the pool. I hope that was clear enough.
Is this underground now?
It was underground until 2023, meaning that only one side of the Olympic pool, so to speak, so the Siloam pool, was uncovered. It was uncovered in 2004. Why? There was a pipe that burst and the city municipality needed to replace the pipe. But while they replaced it, they uncovered the steps. So the archaeologists stopped, the replacing of a pipe, and instead there was the excavation happened. So they revealed only one side of the Siloam pool, meaning the steps that bring to the pool. However, the rest of the pool was underground because the land there belonged to the Greek Orthodox Church. So we couldn't excavate there, meaning that only in 2023 did the city of David acquire the land from the Greek Orthodox Church, and we have been excavating it ever since, which means that if you were to come today, you would see, and you could see loads of pictures of it on the internet, you would see steps, ancient steps made out of stone, and then the rest is just like a huge archaeological site.
So when you're walking the Pilgrim Road, is that underground?
Yes. So it wasn't underground during Jesus' time.
No.
The reason it's underground today is because that with time, of course, then the road was covered with dirt, debris, and then homes. About 50 years ago, the city of David, where the city of David is today, there were homes that were built on top of the grounds because, people didn't really know it was the city of David, and those who did, didn't do much about it. Which means that once we knew the pilgrimage road was there, we needed to excavate it, but we can't tell the people who live in the city of David to leave, but because there's no eminent domain like in America and Israel, we were able to dig underneath the homes. So the city of David has dug underneath the homes and revealed parts of the pilgrimage road. And the reason I'm saying parts is because we can actually continue and excavate to the sides, meaning we have excavated from the bottom to top, but the road is very wide, very large, and we have only shown, like, excavated, let's say, a string of it from the bottom to the top. We can also excavate to the sides.
So, just up above you, are people living there?
Yes. There's a kitchen, there's a bathroom, there's a living room. While people are walking now, you'll only see metal arches. But yes, definitely, people are living there. But the good thing about actually what the pilgrimage road did, while the city of David was excavating, they had to, of course, make sure that nothing would happen to the homes at the top. So it actually reinforced the homes, because where we are right now, in Jerusalem, we are very vulnerable to earthquakes. Israel in general is vulnerable to earthquakes, and every 100 years there's a big earthquake. By the way, the last one was in 1927, so
Very soon.
yeah, I don't know if it's going to be in 100 years, like 100 years later to a T, but yes. Okay, let's prepare for that. Either way, the good thing is that the pilgrimage road, by creating these arches underground, it fortified and stabilized the homes that are on top.
What is the pilgrim road made of?
Limestone, which for those who have seen pictures of Jerusalem, just the pictures you see on postcards, the Jerusalem stone, yeah, it's made out of limestone.
And how did you actually find the pilgrim road? How did you know it was there?
When the pipe burst in 2004, so it was a very old pipe. It was from the British Mandate. So in 2004, we were still using British Mandate piping. The city, the city municipality, while they were changing the pipe, and all of a sudden the tractor came and it just couldn't continue because it hit the rock. The archaeologist stopped, said, wait, I think there's something ancient here, because there's always an archaeologist on site. He found the steps, and then they said, wait, it's written in the book of Josephus that the Siloam Pool was connected to the pilgrimage road. Maybe we should, and they actually started following some of the steps and some of the rocks, and they started finding parts of the road. Now, they couldn't excavate underneath the homes and blindly excavate, because who knows where it is? It could go to the right, it could go to the left. So instead, they found a drainage tunnel. And they said, let's dig the drainage tunnel, because the drainage tunnel, it's a tunnel. You can't go right or left. You have to go and follow the tunnel. So they followed the tunnel, and they knew that wherever the tunnel went, the pilgrimage road was probably on top, which means that just like any modern city today, if there's a road, there's probably a sewer system under it. So if you follow the sewer, you know where the road is on top. So that's how they found it.
And how long did it take to actually excavate the whole lot?
13 years.
Wow.
13.
And there's so much here in the city of David. It's outside of the city wall, just outside from the Dung Gate, and you come down and there's the city of David, and there's so much here, isn't there?
The city of David is today the second most visited archaeological site in Israel. The first one is Masada, the second one is the city of David. We are like Apple. We have a new update every year. You think it's just the iPhone? No, it's also the city of David. So we have new findings every year. Coins, stories to tell you, and also we connect these the findings to Jewish scriptures, to Christian scriptures, and to the Bible, which is incredibly unique to this site. So anyone who questions biblical stories, usually they come here for the answers. They can visualize the biblical stories and finally get the answers that they've been looking for a really long time.
As you were excavating the site, what sort of things did you find there on the road? On the road, we found
several coins. Some of them were from Jesus' time, some from a bit before, some were from a bit later. I'll talk about two specific coins. One of them is the machatzit shekel, the half a shekel coin that the Jews would bring to the temple. That's one of them. It's also mentioned in the Torah. The second coin that was found, for example, again, many coins were found, but it was a coin from the second year of the rebellion, meaning that when the Jews decided to rebel against the Romans in the year 67 BCE, they minted a coin for each year, the year of the rebellion. So we found coins from each year of the rebellion. Another thing that we found, which is very unique, was a tiny golden bell. And this golden bell raised a lot of questions, because during Roman times, the only people who would wear bells were servants. So what archaeologists did, and also no servant would wear a tiny golden bell. So archaeologists looked around the Roman Empire and they couldn't find any other Roman bell. So they realized that it was singular to Jerusalem and unique to Jerusalem. They actually realized that this tiny golden bell was one of the golden bells that the high priest wore at the bottom of his clothes while he was working in the temple. There's another last thing that is, many, many more artifacts, but I want to mention one other finding that also is unique and singular to the Pilgrimage Road. You can only see it in the Pilgrimage Road, is something called Speaker's Corner. It is a stage in the middle of the road, okay? And it is, just imagine 3 or 4 steps, like 4 steps that kind of create a stage. And these steps raise a lot of questions again between archaeologists, like what is this? And then they realized, and they did the connection with the Talmud. In the Talmud, it says that in Jerusalem there was Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner was the place where the lost and found were declared, meaning people who would lose things or find things would go to that stage and announce, I found a necklace, a golden necklace. Wow. And according to descriptions, I'll be able to give it back.
And we know that in the Bible it talks about Jesus being lost and they didn't know where he was. They could have gone to Speaker's Corner.
Who knows, maybe. But we do know also that this stage was used for also political and religious speeches. The probability that Jesus was on this stage is actually very high. But you know what is even higher is the fact that, like, what's really cool is that when people come to Jerusalem, they want to see where Jesus did, like, his miracles, for example. They want to know where he walked. When people go to the Via Dolorosa, and I'm so sorry I'm busting a myth, but it's from the 8th century. It's like medieval. So it's the late interpretation of where Jesus walked. However, the Pilgrimage Road, there's no doubt that Jesus walked on these steps, which means that if the listener here comes to Jerusalem and they arrive to the Pilgrimage Road, they will be standing on the same road where Jesus walked, and they'll be the first ones in their lineage to do it since Jesus' time. Wow. Because people have been yearning to go where Jesus walked and they didn't really know where it was until finally we've been able to uncover the road. And now people are able to walk up to the temple through the same road that Jesus walked.
So this would go from the Pool of Siloam, you'd walk up and you'd come to the temple. Whereabouts on the temple would you actually end up at?
The base of the temple. So it's the base of it's not the actual temple, it's the base of the walls, the retaining walls of the temple. So you would end up, I would say, in meters, like 50 meters, next to today's Western Wall. So today's Western Wall, where the people pray, just go 50 meters to the right. That's where the Pilgrimage Road ends.
How significant was this finding?
Oh, it depends who you ask. Very significant because finally we were able to visualize Jerusalem during Roman times. Also, the Siloam Pool, we realized something very interesting, which was that Jesus did several miracles in Israel, of course. How many did he do in Jerusalem? 2. He healed the lame man in Bethesda, and he gave sight back to a man in Jerusalem by the Siloam Pool, meaning that finally we were able to unlock, so to speak, the 2 stops where Jesus did his 2 miracles in Jerusalem. So how significant is it? For Christians, it allows them to finally walk up the same road where Jesus walked. For Jews, we are walking through the same road where our ancestors walked 2,000 years ago. The fact that we can finally pilgrim through the same road is a blessing. Like, who can go back 2,000 years and walk through the same place where their ancestors walked? I don't know who, but the Pilgrimage Road is very unique in that way.
So for anyone who wants to actually go on the Pilgrim Road today, what can they see as they walk on that road?
Okay, so imagine you're walking in a big, big tunnel. That tunnel has metal arches above you, and of course it's all lit in. And you're walking on a road that is made out of limestone rocks, and it kind of goes up, and you've got steps walking up, which is very interesting because you're walking up the whole way. So the journey, of course, is spiritual, but there's also something very interesting that happens to you biologically. Biologically, we start walking up, and it's not too steep where we're exhausted, but it is kind of a hard walk. And your heart rate starts going actually faster and faster while you walk up the road, which means that it releases endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. By the time you get to the base of the temple, your body went through a very interesting physiological process where there's a sense of pure accomplishment when you get to the temple. You're tired, but you're like happily tired, as if you just finished running, a short marathon. It's like, whoa, I've completed a mission and I've accomplished something that's very great. So even biologically, there's something that goes through your body that makes it special on that end as well.
Now, the Bible commands Jews to come to Jerusalem for certain feasts, so they would have came to the feasts and they would have came on this road and went up to the temple through this area.
Yes, 3 times a year. And I don't want people to imagine when you come to the city of David and you walk up the pilgrimage road, again, it's an archaeological site, but what I want people to imagine is incense burning, music playing. They're finally seeing friends that they haven't seen in ages. So walking up the road was an event within itself. And that's something that we try to really emphasize to the people who come here. Walking up the road is an event. People want to cleanse. After they've cleansed, they go up the road, but they go shopping. They see friends that they haven't seen in ages. It's like meeting friends at the lobby before a wedding. It's like, oh my God, how's it going? And music playing. People are singing psalms that were written here in the city of David by King David. And then they're walking up, and finally they arrive to the temple.
Is it like a spiritual experience itself today?
Today, I think it depends on who you ask. It could be. It is, but it depends on how the person feels connected to the Bible.
What's it like for you working in this archaeological site with all this history all around you from thousands and thousands of years?
For me, personally, it reaffirms my faith. I'm what we call Gen Z, so Generation Z, where, I question a lot. Not growing up, but actually as an adult, weirdly enough. As a child, as a teenager, I didn't ask many questions. As an adult, I started asking questions like, is it even true? Did it really happen? And working around all this archaeology, it reaffirms my faith every single day. It tells me not just that it happened, but that there is no way that anyone could deny my heritage with this land, our heritage, because it's a shared heritage, and that is extremely powerful.
Annaelle, thank you very much for sharing today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. Pray that God will move by his mighty power in the Holy Land and bring his peace.